Hey, this is Candia Raquel, and you are at the Sensual Sessions podcast, the place to explore sensing pleasure through your senses and moving in a way that is completely free from inhibition and full of self expression. If you're new to this podcast, please go to www.centraldeepoder.com and get yourself signed up to get these episodes delivered weekly on your inbox. And today we have a very special guest. This is Doron Perk. He's from Israel. He's a dancer. He created More Fish. Is a dance company. He danced also at Bacheva and got many awards. And he has a black cat that walks behind him when he's teaching classes online. So I am very, very happy to have Doron here. Welcome, Doron.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Tell us a little bit about how you became interested in dancing. How was that moment when you said like, yes, movement on the body, this is my thing? Can you recall?
Sure. I mean, I started really young. I feel like I was dancing all the time, even when I was just a kid. Like one of the most repeated stories about me as a kid was that I just never stopped dancing, or I would just, whenever there was music on, I would dance, and especially in weddings or some kind of events like that where there would be music and there would be people dancing. Like I was always on the dance floor, even when from 3 years old.
Wow.
So when I was, yes, I was like, I didn't know that it was weird, I didn't know, or weird. I didn't think about it as something that was unique. I was just, that's what I wanted to do. I didn't realize most kids would stop dancing after a little bit. So when I was 6 years old, my mother tried to get me to do some kind of more formal dancing, and I just couldn't, I just didn't want to. I just didn't feel like I wanted to join like any kind of, her idea was that I should do ballroom. But I never wanted to do it. So I kept saying no until she found a group that was more folklore and like Israeli folk dance. And it's like a youth company in Jerusalem. And that I came to kind of observe or just try out one rehearsal or class, whatever. I was 8 years old. And I was like, okay, this works. I can do this, because it was not that serious. Ballroom was very intense, like in terms of the strictness of the teachers and how I saw them dance. And then like in the folk dance, it was very loose. And we basically learned how to run in patterns to happy music. And I did that first, like the most organized way that I learned to dance. And I loved it, obviously. And then when I was 13, I started doing ballet. And then I immediately, or very soon after starting doing ballet, I realized that that's what I want to do like forever. And I was like 13, 14. Yeah.
Nice. You said something like that stunned me, that for you it was very normal. You didn't realize it was something weird, and you didn't find out until later that most kids stop dancing at a certain point. And that's the thing. Like I remember when I was a little kid and my kindergarten friends, like we were very in the body, like even playing with adults was a dance full experience, and even smaller, like rolling in the floor and eating sand and playing with mud and doing cakes with plants and stuff was like we were all very, very, very identified as our movement through our body and fleshly experience. And then that happened. kids stop dancing at a certain point. So I want to ask you two things. The first thing is, what do you think happened either with you or with the immediate environment where that cut didn't happen? Like you continue and you have like this kind of super fresh spirit in you that not many people have, not even dancers. So there's something, yeah, that a light that wasn't dimmed in you. And I'm curious to know why.
That's very nice for you to say. I feel that I was lucky that my mother saw it in me and didn't try to, actually opposite, she tried to push me more in that direction. Because she saw that she's not a dancer, she's not an artist, she's a tour guide. So it's not like she knew that I would be a dancer and like the career aspect of it. She had no idea. But like, yeah, I was lucky that she very supportive. And, and I feel like my friends or like the people that I didn't really think of it as something weird or something, because why I really enjoyed the folk dancing is because it was very normal. It felt, I guess it means that it's something that is part of kind of life, normal life, or like it doesn't feel like this kind of ballet was different, but like the folk dance very much felt like part of the culture, and we were not, there were many boys doing it. I didn't feel like that it was weird because I'm a boy. And we were doing a lot of also national ceremonies, you know, like Independence Day or whatever. Like we would also do festivals that, you know, like as kids you realize that it's like not just acceptable, it's like celebrated. It's like a very fun thing to be able to do or to be a part of. And I always really loved it. I mean, I feel that when I grew older, there was more ebbs and flows, or like places where I would doubt, or moments where I would have a harder time, you know, as you grow older. And you, or like when you're 14 until 18, it's like you really train really hard, because you know that like this is the time you have to kind of make the best out of your body. So when you're 18, you can get a job. At least like that's what I understood. Of course, it's not the same for everyone. So I think until that moment where things clicked, like, okay, I really got to work really hard to actually make it a career or make it my life, it was all fun. Like there was nothing nervous about it. And then, you know, obviously. Um, but it is a difficult path sometimes.
It's a difficult path sometimes. I like a lot
That
what,
makes
yes, I like a lot what you said, that your mom was not a dancer, but she had like this attention and sensitivity towards what you liked, and she encouraged your creativity and your self-expression, and you found an environment that was conducive to it, where dancing was not only accepted but celebrated. Oops, here we are back again.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I live in the mountains, and oftentimes my connection is super choppy. Are we good? I don't
Yeah.
know. Well, I'm gonna say it all over and edit this little glitch. So it's super nice that your mom took care of you. Like she tended to this very meaningful aspect of the self, that is the self-expression, and she saw your creativity and encouraged you to dance, and also respected, like, okay, ballroom is not the thing, but let's keep on looking. And then came folk dance, and it's very important to realize that one thing is to be accepted and another thing is to be celebrated. And oftentimes, like, life is so hard that as long as we are not rejected, it's okay. But like, there's more to that. There's like acceptance, and then like, why not being in an environment where we are actually celebrated? And I believe that this is very important in any realm for self-expression, like to feel free to have this openness and let it all hang loose. And I am very curious about the next moment, that was the training with ballet, that is super formal, and like you say, like 4 years of hardcore training to get the foundations, like to become a professional. And I believe that this self-structuring can oftentimes like drain our spirit. Like, it can be like, if you're a doctor and studying a career, like drains like your real passion for doing the thing. Like, it's very easy for duty to overread the pleasure. And I see a lot of dancers friends that used technique as a shield, as a suit of armor, to protect themselves and to not be to not have their self-expression judged, because their self-expression was technically perfect. So I believe that we as a culture use a lot of masks to protect us, to try to be in the world. But in this like walling off, we in a way sacrifice this bubbly, brimming, playful, childish spirit. So I wonder if there was a moment where you felt like stuck in technique, or where you have hide behind technique or being talented, and also how you manage to not let this like Peter Pan spirit that you have inside shy away when you have like a super important show, or you're gonna be filmed, or whatever.
It's a great question. I feel like I'm still fighting this battle. I mean, I think it's like something that we can all relate to. I mean, how can we not let our ambition or our wish to be good at what we do and also be seen by people, to how not to block, how to not, how to move through that and also be able to enjoy ourselves. Because in a way it is a contradiction, because when you enjoy yourself, you look better.
Yes.
Yeah, you do better. But there is this kind of self deprecate, how do you say this word, like you oppress yourself or for some reason. And for sure it's like something that I've battled with, and I have seen my friends also go through these different moments of using, as you say, technique as like, okay, if I do this perfect technically, then no one can say, or no one can reject me or something. But when you audition, and you, for some, because I've done a lot of auditioning in my life, and you do everything perfect, it does not mean anything. Like nobody's, I mean, yes, it's good. You need to do everything perfect. If you don't do anything perfect, of course, you're less likely to get the job. But if you're not having fun, if you're not showing that this is actually something that you have a good attitude towards, then no one will actually want to work with you because people want to work with people who have a good attitude. So it's not about faking it, but it's like tapping into it is really important. And sometimes there is a matter of like pushing yourself to have fun.
Okay.
Even when, yeah, if that makes any sense. I
Yes.
mean, it's not, it's sometimes easier said than done, but other times I really feel like it's a switch. It's a switch of like, okay, now it's not about anything else. And I've had many moments like that. It's not like once you turn that switch and then, okay, forever it's working. No, it's like a lot, many times, and maybe sometimes the same rehearsal. You get into a dark place and then you're like, you see it also in the room. You see people react to you that suddenly they are not happy and like, okay, gotta flip that switch again. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. This is key. Like you have to push yourself to make it fun. Though it's not like it cannot come from a duty because it won't work. It won't be fun if it's an obligation to have fun. But I believe it's like an openness, like a disposition, which leads me to the next question, like how to go from effort to pleasure, because there's something about effort that can be like crushing, and if there's not like an underlying sense of pleasure, at least in my experience, especially when it's hard, then somehow it's easier to get distracted at the fleshly level and then get injured. Or if it's a different effort, like you have to pay your taxes and you have a deadline for your work if you're an accountant, and you have to, I don't know, take the kids to school and take off the trash and all of that, like it tends like effort can consume you. But even though if that's something that you decided to do because like you want a clean house, you love your kids, you don't want to have problems with the government, and you love like doing numbers, there's like this thing. So how you do it? how
The huge question. I feel like the best answer I have for it is for myself is I try to do it my way, because I feel like a part of the why effort feels oppressive is because we are forced to do it, and probably it's not what we want to do. Like, I don't want to, I don't know, sit for 3 hours and calculate numbers, or I mean, it's like, and we are told anyways that there is one correct way to do it. Like, it's not that there is one result that we are looking for. There's also one path towards doing it. And I think and it's like sometimes it feels oppressive to do, it feels monotonous, it feels less human, right? Because we are just doing the thing we are told to do because we know it's good for us. It's like, it's like if you try to be strict with what you eat, it's like you're not enjoying the food.
yes.
So it's like, for me, I find it, again, it's ongoing in a way of trying to find it, but to do it my way, to say, okay, like I'm going to clean my house, but I'm not going to do it the way that my mother said is the only way that you should clean the house, or I'm not gonna do my taxes exactly with this program or exactly with this person in the way. Like I'm gonna, part of doing it would be also finding the way to do it.
Yes.
I guess this is what I got today. Like I feel, especially if I take it to dancing, like ballet. I mean, when I started, because now I start teaching ballet last year, and I start teaching, and I think, okay, I have to do it my way now because I'm actually telling people how to do it. But like even before that, the classes that I would have the most fun dancing is when I'm actively looking for not what the teacher is saying, but what my way would be.
Yes.
How would I, even in Gaga, which is so free, but it's not really free because the teacher is talking at you the whole time, and you are following the teacher's way. But even there, the most benefit would be, you take what the teachers say, whatever else, music, whatever the room you're in, and then inside of all of this stuff that you are given, you're still looking for your way to do it. And that's why you stay curious, and maybe that's why you stay fresh and you're having more fun playing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like Frank Sinatra song, like I do it
Exactly.
my way. And
Yeah,
it's one life, and there's the
exactly.
established path. But I love what you're saying, and this is something I will treasure forever, because you do your taxes, you do the taxes, but you do them your way. So in a way, yes, we can comply with the end goal, like getting the applause at the theater, getting paid, or getting the boss to give you a raise or whatever. But it's super important that we take agency
Hmm.
deciding how. Like, okay, we agree that it's okay to pay the taxes, so we agree and subscribe with the goal, but we take agency on the way to do it. So so in a way we are responsible for our pleasure along the journey. And I feel this is the key, not to get like resented with life, because then it's like, no, the government oppresses us, and the culture and my neighbor and everything is to blame. If we only subscribe to the goal, to the contract, but we want to also, like, people please in the how. And in the how is exactly the pleasure, because another problem right here is that also in this Western culture, like, pleasure has become a product. Like, if you want to have pleasure, you have to pay either with money or with your suffering, because pleasure is looked like a goal. Like you cannot have pleasure if you are not going to the Starbucks, or to a fancy place for dinner, or to the Bahamas in for vacations, or getting a new home, or whatever. Like, that is pleasure. So people, me included, like, work hard to get there. And when we get there, we are super burnt out and resented. And on the third day in the Bahamas, people get bored and want even more extreme experiences to feel something. So this is a path to numbness and desensitizing ourselves at a fleshly and emotional level. And then, like, people don't feel the flesh until they get a heart attack and end up in the emergency room. And at the core, like, if we backtrack all this terrible cultural disease, is this exact point that you pointed at, that is the agency, like deciding Like, okay, I'm gonna do this, but I'm not just gonna do that because I said. I'm really taking charge on the unfolding of the journey. And this is maybe for you is super normal. But
No, I mean, it's what we all have to face because it's like every day you have to cook,
yeah,
you know, and how
clean the
do you do
dishes.
it and clean the dishes and, all this, take a shower and, all these things that you have to do or you are, and then you think, but that's the thing, like every day you have to do, or like you have to do it. So sometimes you do, a very complicated recipe. And sometimes you do the most simple thing that the least effort that you can ever think of, because you really, today, that's your decision, just make burgers or something. So it's like, and both are valid. There's not like you failed because you just made a simple recipe. And it's not like you get an award for making a really
Super complete.
complicated one. Yeah. But both can have like the pleasure of doing something simple, the pleasure of doing this. It's like they all have
Yes,
pleasure connected to them.
yes.
And I think you're right. I think it is like connected to our choice to do them, because if you had to do it, then
Then
you
it's
would
an
just,
obligation. Uh-huh.
then you'll just go through the motions of doing it. And yeah.
Yeah. And I feel this is key for sensuality, decision. And it's also key for pleasure because in a way, like also there's this thing now that is super trending of being like the divine feminine, that you are super like now women, on top of all the narratives that we have to comply to, now we have to be divinely feminine and only accept, which seems almost like being choiceless, like just like yeah. And this becomes a dry obedience. And I feel the thing is decision, is choice, because that's where the freedom of creativity is. And it would seem paradoxical because when you make a choice, when you decide, it's like in a way you set a boundary because it's going to be this way. But creativity has to have like this decision, like this clear like point of view. I'm gonna make hamburgers and not something very complicated. Or yes, I'm gonna make something very complicated, but it's not for an award. It's not to get the approval or to get validated for like, oh yeah, like I do very complex vegan meals or whatever. No, it's because you are deciding on how to thread the experience that in a way sustains pleasure. And in your artistic manifesto, in your website, you said something very beautiful about threading. I'm gonna look for it and read it in a few. But yeah, you
I
said
mean,
yeah,
it's a process.
yeah,
My artistic statement is definitely a process. If you would look in last week or no, I don't know. It's just I keep changing it. But yes, I know what you mean. Like the tapestry, how you go through things.
yes,
Um, there it speaks specifically about rhythm. Um, and how different rhythms together weave to create tapestry. Yeah, whenever someone asks about artistic statement, I change it. So because it's
it,
part of this, right? You have to stay fresh with your perspective, I guess.
yeah, it changes with you. Tapestry of rhythms. In a way, what we have been talking about talks about rhythms, not only like musical rhythms, but the rhythms along our everyday. So there's like a lifestyle to pleasure. There's a continuity to sensuality. So like taking a shower is a dynamic, is a movement. And cooking is also a dynamic. And there are many rhythms that make the tapestry of our lives like threaded with the lives of others. So this is very beautiful because it's real first and foremost. and there's awareness, but not this like I am gonna super meditate and not think because I am super aware. No, it's like an embodied, fluid, and practical awareness. So yeah, I like a lot this idea of threading rhythms and making a tapestry. So how do you feel this sustains feeling comfortable with our body? Or how does the lack of these rhythms changes the perception of how good does it feels to be you?
So I guess what comes to mind when you say that is, what do you mean being comfortable in your body? It's like also partly accepting change. And this also connects to rhythm, because if you are in rhythm or inside this kind of flow and you allow yourself to weave in and out of whatever story or whatever thing you're doing, you accept if so connecting to rhythm or connecting to the rhythm of your life is also accepting that it's not stationary, it moves, so it changes. And body obviously changes. Like your body doesn't feel the same when you wake up versus after you've had breakfast and coffee, right? Like it's a totally different thing. Or before and after a shower or whatever. Like I'm sure like all of us have different experiences of like whatever our bodies go through. And it's also affected by what we eat or how we move or whatever, our age. And so being comfortable with your body is, I think, is being comfortable with change and with knowing that it doesn't stay the same. And if you feel a little bit sick, then you also comfortable because you know that we will get better, or you will, it's never stationary, right? Whatever sensation, whatever feeling we have. So enjoying when it feels good and also knowing that it changes, I think, is really important, especially while you are training in dance, right? It's like you can get so frustrated if you want to get your leg high or your jump or your turns or whatever you do in ballet. But it's everything like yoga or Pilates or anything in Gaga too. Like you want to get it right away, but that's not how the body works.
Yes.
The body takes time to understand and takes repetition. People think that, or I don't know what people think, but my experience sometimes is with students or with myself is like we learn something new and we think, okay, like I need to get it right away, or I'm annoyed that I don't get it right away. But the reality is that repetition is our only tool to become better. Yes. Like every time you do it again, something, I'm quoting my teacher, Zvi Gottheimer is my teacher. He's a ballet teacher. And he says this a lot, like it's very, like with using repetition, something very complicated becomes simple.
Okay.
And this is how it goes. So being comfortable in our bodies maybe is something that is to accept that if we want to get better, we have to start doing things that make it feel better, and that's not going to happen immediately. It's all about the process, and then again, and then even then, it's going to have moments where it doesn't feel good. Yeah.
Yeah, very important to have the perspective of the whole tapestry and not only just a single thread. And yeah, like a tapestry, like there's a lot of weaving to make the whole tapestry of your lives. And also, like, this is a very practical view to begin to feel better with yourself. Like, if your tapestry is made of knots and holes and a burned corner and another with glue and dirt and whatever, like, take it easy. Like, you need to start reweaving little by little parts. And this leads me to pleasure, that we want immediate satisfaction, like, yeah, pay for it and feel good in a second, and then you feel like empty or whatever. So I get the feeling that there's like this enjoyment, that is a term called in psychoanalysis for a pleasure that is not so good. For example, drugs, they give you enjoyment, but it's not pleasure, because this enjoyment quality has a tint of self-destruction, like eating a lot of chocolate or Coca-Cola, or I don't know, doing too much exercise without technique, or yeah, like going into an 8 hour a day boot camp without ever having done exercise in your life, or an extreme ayahuasca experience, or all this stuff that we see all over in Instagram. And this is an important contrast against like the threading of pleasure. That pleasure has this quality of in a way a construction, something that, yeah, pleasure has a rhythmicality to it, and it's
I absolutely. Like, can you imagine listening to music and trying to enjoy only one note?
no, it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. But
No,
that's
it has to come
yeah
with everything before and everything after.
yeah.
And you might enjoy that one note
Yes,
by itself, but only if it comes after something and before something.
yeah, it's part of
Yeah.
the tapestry, which leads us to time. Like,
Yeah.
the body needs time to run its processes, and also like it takes time to open sensually, and to have like this threading of discovering and unfolding the experience itself. And I want to ask you about accepting one's body, because I'm getting a sense of what you mean. But for a long time, I felt, when I've been told that, like, accept your body and be thankful for what you got, and I felt like that sounds like I should be like resigned, like that's what you got, and like and then gratitude seems like something I should do, like an obligation. And me being a super rebel, then I don't. If love is an obligation, then I don't want it. So, but that's not what acceptance means. So, what does it mean?
I don't know. I mean, honestly, I feel like it's a very vague thing. So I would say acceptance maybe is just the lack of oppressing yourself
Okay.
already. Like this like the first step
The first
is
step.
stop stop saying bad things to yourself, or stop thinking not good enough or something like that. I mean, it's it's easier said than done. Of course, everyone goes through this. So it's also not to dwell on those things and feeling like we are stuck in a place of not liking what we are. So if we start to kind of allow ourselves to move on from this negative self-talk, they say this is like a term, negative self-talk. So it's like allow ourselves to move on. And I think the way to move on is to focus on other things, like change what you pay attention to. Because of course there is parts of my body that if I'm going to like zoom in on and like obsess, I would always not like them, but I can also just not pay attention to them. Of course, if they are, I need to, if it's some kind of thing that is a real problem, of course you need to pay attention to it and solve it. But if it's just something that is a superficial thing, you can just ignore it, or like not ignore is also an active thing, right? If you ignore something, it means you are actively pushing it away. It's just not ignore it, just pay attention to something else.
Just
pay attention to the thing that feels. Sometimes we are blocking our own curiosity because we hyper focus on something. And part of what I like about meditation, for example, you mentioned meditation earlier, is a moment to let my attention be drawn to whatever. When you walk through a museum, I assume, I don't know, but for myself, I can say, like, you don't stop at every painting and read everything that was written on. I mean, it will take you too much time and your feet will be hurting. You usually walk around and then something grabs your attention and you walk there and you read, you get interested in that. So I feel like it's similar, like it's not something like, yeah, you can just allow that to be more like that. Your default is like to be drawn to whatever feels good instead of focusing on what doesn't feel good. And I think if you're able to be free with that, then you are accepting your body. Self.
Yes. Wow. Term accepting yourself understood finally.
Okay.
Yes.
Great.
Yes, because then it's not like another thing I should do, because it's and this is great to deal with perfectionism, because indeed, like, there was one time that my psychologist told me, like, Candia, it's unbelievable what you do. Like, the wall is finally beautifully painted, and you go with your Sharpie and put a little mark so you can be pointing and talking about the mark that you were the one that went and put the mark in order not to see the rest of the thing. That is like I reframed that was not humbleness, like, oh no, what I do or my thing or myself, I am not that good, pretending falsely to be humble. So I focused on the things that were not working in me, instead of like realizing that there are a lot of good things in the self that are exactly the things that you have as a gift to offer to the world. Like, we don't want to give to the world our lousy parts. And it's great that we realize that, yeah, there are things that we don't like, and that we could actually dislike about our body or ourselves, but they are not troublesome. Like, if there's a big trouble, like, yeah, go and fix it.
The doctor.
Yeah, go to the doctor. But if it's not a great deal, like, don't even ignore that. Just like move on and focus on the things that are actually pleasurable. And then You reminded me of going for the first time alone to Europe on a trip. And I went to Italy, and out of nowhere, like my mom gifted me a plane ticket to go to Paris. When I was on my way back to Mexico, she told me like, no, 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 like move your plane from Amsterdam 3 days, so you get to go to Paris. So I was in Paris 3 days, and on the day, like I arrived one day, did my thing, and on the second day, like I said, I have to go to the Louvre, and it's like you need like 3 months to go to the Louvre, and it was like no, I have to go. So I did exactly that. Like I thought, like I want to see this, and this, but I want to see the whole museum. So I just walked by as he like scanning everything, like yes, 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 beautiful, and like I took a moment to delight in a special sculpture. Like it's a wonderful museum, but I got to walk the whole museum in one day and delight in the pieces that I loved the most. So it's a beautiful analogy to see yourself as a museum with a lot of things that are unique. Some things, like as in every museum, are even painful to look at. Some tell about the story, some trigger your buttons, and like it's okay that they are there, and there are like certain dark rooms, but there's no need to dwell there. Like just coming back to what you say before, like decide, like you get to choose on your experience, and that will like determine the weaving pleasure that you are threading. Yes.
I just only have a few more minutes
Okay.
because I have another, like I have to teach soon. So just wondering if there's,
Yes.
just wanted to say it so we
Lily,
know.
I got something that you could share with us, so we can get a taste
A little,
of weaving delight in ourselves and the universe.
like an exercise.
Yeah, 3 minutes something.
Um,
That's,
I don't know. I feel like my offer would be to just lie on your, if you have a yoga mat or something, or on the floor even, just to lie down on your back and allow yourself to really rest and feel gravity and allow, again, your thoughts to wander, not in a way that we are trying to be blank, but in a way that we are trying to slow down, maybe. Or if you feel anxious, allow it to be fast. And maybe choose a song that you like and just allow the song to continue and do nothing. I think a lot of the time we think, oh, like everything we do should have some kind of result, like especially monetary result, or like we need to work out. So yeah, my advice would be let's take a few minutes to do nothing,
yes.
just to see that it's okay and to let ourselves just enjoy our wandering thoughts through our body or whatever. It's not meditation. It's very different, actually,
Yes.
because it's not, you just rest.
You just rest.
That would be,
A little bit of the dolce far niente of the Italians, of enjoy doing nothing.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's surprisingly rare
Surprisingly rare. Yeah.
to do.
Yes, indeed. But that is highly recommended for all of you sensualists listening and watching us. So how can we learn more from you and
About me
yeah,
or from me. So
and
you
watch your
mentioned,
dances?
you can definitely find me on Instagram, it's at Perk Doron, which is PERKDORON. I'm not the most active person, but you can see. More Fish is my company. We also have a website. It's morefish.dance. And we also have an Instagram page, so you can look at that. If you're in New York City, then please, you can even reach out to me. If you're a dancer and you want to be part of the More Fish community, we're holding open studios, which are 4 hours every Wednesday that are open to any dancer who wants to join us. We're not, it's kind of an opportunity to be in community, which I feel like is really rare. It's free, also important. We just dance together every week as different people leading. But this is just, I can tell you more details. If you are a dancer in New York City, you can reach out and we can connect.
Okay. Thank you so much, Doron.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So
thank you for the conversation.
Great conversation. And Sensualist, go follow Doron Perk on Instagram at Perk Doron and learn more about his coming shows at morefish.dance. And if you're a dancer in New York, jump into the open Wednesday 4-hour sessions. And also, if you haven't already, go grab the free guide to Awaken Sensuality at www.centraldeeper.com. Until next time, remember to take the time to sense your fire so you can share your flame.